you can't help people if you don't have money. Being broke is inconvenient.
Very inconvenient.
If you're not out there making money or enough money to make a difference, what's your happiness level? When they say money can't buy happiness, they're just looking at that equation wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Having more things might not make you happy, but being able to do more for people definitely makes you happy. All right. Welcome, everybody. Episode number 2 of the Money Matrix podcast with none other than the pretty face of Little Pink Houses of America, Scott Ulmer.
Hello.
I'm your co-host, and I'll try to keep things on schedule. Danny Mazie, the director of winning with Little Pink Houses of America. We love our fun
like
titles.
to win.
And we love to win. So today's episode, we want to talk about a couple of things. We want to talk about getting your mindset right. We want to cover wealth in real estate, how to achieve wealth in real estate, and then we want to drop a little hot take on the moratoriums coming up at the end there. But first, we're going to talk about why you should be listening, why you should come check us out. We're going to try to drop these every week consistently. They'll be hosted on the Pink TV YouTube page. So if you go to watchpinktv.com, take you right to it. But basically, Scott, why should people show up? What is the Money Matrix, I guess, is the $1 million question.
Thank you for the intro, Danny. Good job. Yeah, no, we want to have some fun, and we've got a lot of experience and got some great stories about Steve-O. I mean, real estate, and we were actually talking about Steve-O beforehand.
Steve-O was pre-recording. It was a very good story.
We found it would probably be more interesting than talking about real estate, but you can't make money talking about Steve-O, so we wanted to switch it up. But
very true.
No, we've got a lot of experience in real estate here, and we come from a no cash, no credit background, and so what that means is, and what surprises me is most people don't know that. In fact, I still see ads, and you can buy houses with no money down, right?
And it's a shocker to most people, right? They have no clue what you're talking about.
No, and it's amazing, and it's actually the primary way that we do business. And so we have about 8 different strategies that we use, that we implement and train on how to buy real estate, in particular residential, but it can work on commercial as well. Using none of your own cash, none of your own credit, and in many cases using no cash, period. And so because there are 8 different strategies, all of them no cash, no credit, they are really parsed in a way that have to do with the deal itself. So depending on how the deal shakes out is the strategy you'll end up using. And so it really is in the form of a matrix, which is something that is the title of the podcast, the title of an upcoming manual we have. And the matrix is really a breakdown of the strategies.
It's a common theme around here, right? The matrix. So what I like about it is it's kind of whatever comes down the pike as far as a real estate opportunity.
That's really good.
We have a lane that it'll fit into. And that we try to teach everybody that we can get in contact with, right? Because there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, or a lot of roads that lead to Rome.
Yeah. Who came up with that, by
Tom
the way?
Fenn, one of our co-workers here, has let us know, skinning a cat is not sexy at all.
But I mean, like, what person decided that there's like a lot of ways to skin a cat? I mean, how many cats?
How many sick people are out there cutting cats up? How many Jeffrey Dahmers are out there cutting cats up? That's not good.
So, it's kind of weird.
So we've retired skinning cats, and now we're just building paths to Rome.
Yes.
But the core of what we do teaches these 8 pathways, right?
Yeah.
And kind of break down what those are.
Well, that was really good how you said it, and I think that's important not only for the people that we're already working with, but those that may want to work with us, is that it doesn't matter the opportunity or the deal that comes down the pipe. We have strategies that fit all of them, and many don't look like they are $1 million moneymakers off the cuff or on the surface. But when you know what to look for, when you understand the strategies, understand how to qualify a deal and whether or not it makes sense, you'll see that almost every deal that comes in the fray does have some merit or some potential to make money. Some are going to be home runs, and some are not going to be. So the matrix is again a way to kind of understand that any deal that crosses the desk of an investor or an aspiring investor, we've got ways to take those down, and that's pretty exciting because we put a lot of time into putting this together. But to have a matrix of no cash, no credit is something that I know we've talked a lot about. We're excited about sharing with people, and anyway,
100%.
Yeah.
So we just want to purely education. When you come here, we want you to take something away from it all the time. And you'll see in the landscape of real estate investing, if you've ever just searched on YouTube real estate investing, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of videos at this point. How to become a millionaire, very simple methodology. Everybody buy 10 rentals over the next 10 years. You're going to have a net worth of $1 million. All those things have merit. A lot of what you see does not. right? A lot of what you don't believe everything that you watch or read or see. We do come with the true pedigree of doing 3,800 plus deals. So we feel, and we've been told that we have the goods and the knowledge to speak on these things, and we want to put a beacon of education for you guys when you show up and listen to the show.
It's pretty good. A beacon. I like
beacon
that.
of education. Yeah, that was my UT for the day. My $7 word.
There it is.
But yeah, the purpose of what this podcast is to just exploit opportunities for you guys, so that when you think about getting into it, you want to get into it, you find yourself a little education, take some action, and just know that there's a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of different ways to take them down.
Yeah, and I will make a comment on the YouTube gurus. That's been a source of, I wouldn't say frustration, but maybe perplexing to me over the years. And so this is my 25th year full-time in real estate, and worked with some really, really great folks, kind of titans of the industry that have been probably forever emblazoned into the history of real estate investing, and that's not an understatement, one guy in particular. But at the end of the day, you go on YouTube and everybody is an expert. Everybody can tell you different ways to make $1 million in real estate, but the experience behind it is always something that perplexes me. There's some really legitimate people on there, of course, but it seems to me that the masses, or most of them, are not really coming with a lot of substance. So only word of caution is just be careful who you listen to. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
Oh, that was golden nugget alert.
Yeah, right.
Actually, our producer behind the camera, Andrew, did his first real estate investor deal. He's actually coming out with a manual, a training, a seminar, and a book. It'll be out next week. He's got one deal under his belt. And now he's how to accidentally flip your house for a profit
through a pandemic. Right.
So he's the newest guru on this scene. No, just taking jabs at Andrew behind the camera.
He deserves them. So, well, the Matrix, guys, is something that again, I just want to make sure everybody is crystal clear. There are certain deals that are just not a deal. And if you're dealing with an all-cash retail seller, so someone's trying to sell their home and they want a full retail value, and all they're willing to take is just a traditional normal offer, that wouldn't constitute a deal. At least in most cases, you're not going to get very far with that. But even retail type scenarios, there are opportunities that if you know what to look for, are available. And so the Matrix is the way to look at each of the different 8 strategies and see if one of those potentially fits into the deal that you're looking at. So we'll cover those as we go. In fact, we've got a plan to really go through all 8 in great detail.
Yep.
And give that away. In fact, we believe in value. We believe in giving away good value. We believe that there are people that are going to take it and run with it and put it in play, which is fantastic. There are people that will take it and not do anything with it, and there will be people that won't take it at all, and that's okay. There will be people that want to work with us from it, and that's okay as well. But we do believe that we want to give a great value in these, and so hopefully that'll be the case as we go forward.
100%. Yeah, we're talking about getting into wholesaling, lease options, assignments, subject to, the unicorn.
Yeah,
right. Subject to. We love talking about subject twos. There's so many opportunities to make deals. When you understand what you're looking for, you got a little education behind you, you can be armed and dangerous.
Yeah, no
Make
question.
a lot of money doing it.
Well, 95% of the world's wealthiest people have real estate as one of their vehicles.
From real estate,
yeah, so
for sure.
Well, I also want to touch on mindset. That was something that's really important for us. And so let me just kind of set the stage, if I may.
Sure.
So we have a couple of audio series that we put out with our people that we work with. But the very first one is titled, "What is Your Why?" And the reason it's the first one, and the reason the title is as such, is because we've learned that identifying what drives you, identifying what is your motivator, what gets you out of bed in the morning, why you work hard, what your ambition is, and why you have ambition in the first place, when you really can identify what that is and have a clear picture in your mind of what that looks like and why it is you're doing what you're doing, why it is you're sacrificing and putting time in and working hard and trying to learn a new industry, maybe even a new career, is for one reason or maybe for multiple reasons, but it's the why factor. And so that is so important, because you're going to get kicked. It's life. You're going to get knocked down.
Definitely.
You get back up, and there are times you don't want to get back up. But it's when you have your why in mind that really is the driver that can keep you going when times are get a little tough, or where you have some bumps in the road. And so we actually have a portion of this manual that is called "Getting Your Mindset Right First." And so we have this video, or excuse me, an audio on what is your why, and we have a written course section of our course about getting your mindset right first. And what that really means is kind of clearing your mind, identifying what it is you really not only believe success looks like for you, but what you want to accomplish. What are you trying to do? If you're interested in real estate, you want to get in real estate. Why do you want to get in real estate? Number one, what is that why? What's the driver? Usually it's monetary.
Yep.
People want to go on vacation, more pay off debt, pay for college, put a better life for their children, leave a legacy for their children. There are so many reasons that people want to get into real estate. Most of them boil down to financial freedom, financial success.
Money can afford you freedom.
Yes, it can. In fact, there's a saying we have, I have a little plaque in my office that says, "There's nothing there's nothing embarrassing about being poor. It's just very inconvenient."
That's right.
And that's a very true statement. It can be very, very inconvenient. But in this section on getting your mindset right, first we say, stop what you're doing. Take 30 seconds, and literally take 30 seconds. Close your eyes and envision what success looks like to you. Envision when you do that first deal, when you make that first paycheck, that shut-up check that we love to say. What does that? Love the shut-up checks, right? What does that look like for you? What does that feel like? What would you do with that money? And I've always believed that life is lived between your ears, and you have to get your mindset right no matter what it is you're doing, even getting up in the morning and how you're going to attack your day. But when it comes to getting into real estate, if that's the path or the interest that you have, what would you do with the proceeds? What would you do with the success? What is success? And so one of the things we tell people, want to tell you on this podcast here is, stop for a second, no matter what you're doing, take 30 seconds, really identify in your mind if you could have the perfect scenario. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Just identify what does that look like? Cashing a big check, and what would you do with it? What would you pay off? Where would you invest it? What would you do with the money? How does that feel? How does it make you feel? And when you hold that picture in your mind, it's a great starting point to get excited about jumping in. And so mindset.
Definitely. So I correlate it to, and this is what we tell people a lot. If you were going to drive, we're in Jacksonville, Florida. If you were going to drive to Denver tomorrow, you would pull out a map and you would look at Denver first. You wouldn't start taking the road that might get you to Denver because you may not end up there. Yeah. You look at the destination first and then fill the road map in after that, right? If you don't know where you're going, how can you have a plan of attack to get there? So identifying that why before you start road mapping out where you're going is super important. The other thing I will say about real estate, the vehicle of real estate, and the impact it can have so quickly is, we talk about this all the time. Some of the checks that we have collected, some of the checks that people we work with have collected, they're more money than most people ever see at one time in their entire life. It's not a common thing to cash a $38,000 check or a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 check.
Even a $10,000 or $15,000 check is a rare thing.
$15,000 check. Your W-2 job probably doesn't pay you that well. The stats would show that most do not. So to have the ability to create that for yourself, we talk about this narrative and the way that the education system is in America, and the way that you can pay $38,000 a year in tuition 4 years in a row and not even get a job in the field that you went to school for. Yeah. But if you can invest in yourself, educate yourself, and be able to go out there and kind of grab life by the horns, you can make that money in one deal. And how many times can you do that? How many times do you need to do that before it really changes your life forever? I mean, once you get one of those checks, all you want is the next check. It's going to change. Your motivation is going to go out the window. Once you see that this is real, it can work for me, I don't have to now you want to be safe and have a W-2 because there's risk. I mean, you got to go out there and make it happen. Obviously, we don't have some comfortable, I know what's coming down the pike life where we work at, as Ton says, we work at the cookie factory, and we know that if we sell X amount of cookies, we get a paycheck. That's not what we have. But I wouldn't change what we do for a W-2 any day. Yeah. If you want to have a W-2 and look at real estate as a side hustle, which is how a lot of people kind of make that transition into this game, there's nothing like having that consistent income and then having those big hits along the way. You make 4 of those a year, two of those a year.
Might double your income.
Life-changing money. Yeah. And it can happen very quickly with a little education and a little gumption, a little get up and go. Yeah.
And even W-2s that make good money don't get the chunks like that.
Exactly.
And that's one of the differences. And where I come from, which has been a real estate was a kid, real estate kid. So I'm used to making chunks and not so much the consistent paychecks or the smaller consistent paychecks. But so sometimes, and that was one of the things you said to me early on that really stuck with me, is that the deals that we make here, the checks we receive, and certainly the checks that our affiliates receive, are in most cases the biggest individual check they've ever gotten in their life. And I take that for granted sometimes, but you can do some great things when you put a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 check in your bank account. So real estate does equal wealth.
And that allows you to do things with that money, right? Go back to your why, tie that into real estate equaling wealth. You can't help people if you don't have money. Being broke is inconvenient.
Very convenient.
If you're not out there making money or enough money to make a difference, what's your happiness level? When they say money can't buy happiness, they're just looking at that equation wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Having more things might not make you happy, but being able to do more for people definitely makes you happy.
I'll never forget, I was going through a very difficult time, and it was Christmas. In fact, it was Christmas Eve, and I'm going to tell you, I could probably even name the year, but I'm going to say it was 2010, maybe early or late 2000s. But Deepak Chopra, who is a well-known spiritual guru, and I don't know if you would call him a spiritual guru, but he's a self-help guy, and I always refrain from that moniker because I feel like self-help gives a bad connotation. But
you don't need a white jacket. You don't need to be.
Yeah,
you're just trying to be a better you.
That's exactly it. Well, you know what? Understand that you live your life between your ears. That everything in your world is created by what you think, and your thoughts really dictate what comes into your life. And if you don't know that, you need to, because it's your life you're talking about here. But Deepak Chopra has just had some tremendous insights into that and how to control what's between your ears. And
very much so.
I'll never forget this. So somebody said to him that he was getting interviewed on a show, again, Christmas Eve, and everybody has got the Christmas emotions going, and I don't care who you are or where you live, you're in that Christmas spirit, and there's some emotions, and you kind of feel that. And for a lot of people, that's a beautiful emotion, and for a lot of people, that's a terrible emotion for their own reasons. But someone asked Deepak Chopra, if someone this season, Christmas, is wanting to experience joy and happiness, and if there are people that are going through something right now, and again, this is the interviewing asking Deepak Chopra, if there are people going through something right now, this is a tough time of year for many, he said, what advice would you give someone to make themselves happier? And it is a simple answer, but it was not what I was expecting. Yeah. At the time, it probably floored me. Now it seems like an answer that I would give, but it was very simple. He said, if you want to be happy, go do something nice for somebody else. And I mean, how simple is that, right? But there's just a joy in helping others that is singular to everything else. I mean, there's a certain feel you get when you help other people. So if you want to become financially successful or achieve financial freedom, again, that looks something like different for everybody. It can be many, many levels. But if you have the ability to make more money to help other people, that doesn't get much more beautiful than that. And that's such a core of who we are and what we try to do here.
That equals happiness for me. I mean, especially right now. So we're coming out of COVID. We're coming out of a pandemic. A lot of people
think we're coming out of COVID.
We think, Well, we hope that we're coming out of it. Recent resurgence is maybe.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
not so much.
I'm not even smiling. I wasn't trying to be funny there. Right. Hate to say it, but man, I feel like we're heading back the wrong direction.
Hopefully we don't go back down as deep as we did there in the beginning of 2020. Was 2020?
Yeah, I was going to say,
was there even a 2020? Or did we just call that Rona?
Up in the wind,
did we just call that Rona?
I mean, really, I was talking to somebody earlier today and was saying, as a year, no, maybe 2 years ago, and I said, that's right. There's like this gap year.
Yeah,
it's like nothing happened. Black hole of empty space. I mean, it's literally like didn't even exist. So weird.
Fast forward, and we're here. No, I was saying coming out of that, or just coming to grips with it. How's that? That it was here, wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't a flash in a pan. Feeling a little lost, feeling cloudy, feeling like, boy, what? Take a step back. What really does make you happy? To be able to help people through that time period as well. To be afforded the luxury to do that. Either if you have knowledge, you have money, you have time, all those things equal freedom. And to be able to share those with other people is really important. We feel that being in an industry like this affords you those things when you're excelling at it, right? To have extra money in the bank, not have to worry about yourself and your every single day bills, allows you to help other people. A lot of people come to mind that we love to extend a hand to because we would think that they'd do the same thing right back to us. I think we're afforded that luxury because of the business that we built and the industry that we're in. And we don't just punch a time clock and work at the post office. Yeah. Not knocking anybody that works at the post office, but maybe you could get into real estate and do a little better too.
Yeah, well, that'd be. And I've got maybe it's just the guy that delivers our mail, but he is the most boring guy I've ever met. And I'm thinking, man, that would be a very boring job. Sorry, anybody delivering post. No. Well, let me say two things in there, because that is one of the quotes that we've used in some of our slide presentations over the years that we've actually ended with is a Zig Ziglar quote. And for those that don't know Zig Ziglar, he's worth checking out. He's passed a few years, but he's one of those guys that has a voice that you don't forget and an inspiration that every time you hear him talk. But one of his famous quotes that he was well known for was, if you want to achieve your dreams, help somebody achieve theirs first. And it's the same statement that Deepak Chopra was making, and that's just so profound. And again, you help others achieve their goals, their dreams. It's like the universe kind of comes together in harmony to help you create yours. And so bear that in mind, and you do it because you want to do it, but there's also this thing that happens. It's really kind of neat. The only other thing I want to say, and it kind of goes along, we're talking about COVID and the challenges and things that have changed, shifted life for many people. 2020 didn't even exist. And we've got a couple people in my life right now that are feeling very pressured, feeling very uncertain, and I think that as we've talked about our own business and kind of the post-COVID, or what we hope is post-COVID, and the changes that we've made, but I shared this last night with a friend, and I think that sometimes when you're trying so hard to do whatever it is you're doing and you're getting so frustrated, there's a time that you need to maybe step back and say, and I don't know who I'm talking to, if I'm talking to anybody that this is connecting with, but I feel like there's somebody that's listening that will connect with this, that you're so frustrated because you're trying so hard and you want it so bad, whatever it is, and maybe your job, maybe it's a kid that's having issues, whatever it is, there are times when you've got to just step back and surrender and allow yourself, you used the phrase unfold in front of you earlier today, but there are times you just got to let things kind of happen, and there's a peace that comes with that surrender too, where you're just so tired of driving yourself crazy and so over the top frustrated, and you can't make heads or tails of it. There are times you just have to trust, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, doesn't matter, but to just kind of surrender it and let things happen. And I don't know how that ties into the moratorium, to real estate, to the matrix. I don't know, but it just was something that was on my heart I wanted to share. But life is not easy. We like to have fun, and obviously when you make money, you can make life easier. But life has its share of challenges, as we know. No one's immune from those curveballs, and so everybody gets to a point in their life at whatever that particular example is, where they just not happening fast enough and changing, or whatever the case is. And sometimes if you're not careful, you can drive yourself into a grave, but certainly you just got to maybe surrender at times. So hopefully that connects with somebody.
Let the roadmap unfold in front of you.
That's
I think there's a fine balance there. You can take action, and you need to take action if you want to make change. Sometimes the change never happens fast enough. Yeah. I feel that, we live that life often. The change never happens fast enough around here, but if you just let it unfold, and things will come your way. So I tie that back to, if you're listening to this and you're stuck financially, you're stuck, maybe just not happy with what you're doing in life, look at a new opportunity, and maybe real estate's the best vehicle for you that you weren't even thinking about. You ended up listening to this podcast for some quote unquote reason, and hopefully something like that can connect with you. You can take an action, make a change, educate yourself. And then leverage that to go make a better life for yourself, better life for your family. Figure out what that why is, what that driver is, what gets you out of bed every day. And if it's not as exciting to hop up out of bed every day as it once was, you probably need to make a change. Yeah, I would agree. Definitely. If you're not excited to get up in the morning and get those feet on the floor and attack your day, life is short, man. You gotta do something you enjoy. And I tell you, you get into real estate, there's work, but there's a big joy when you take a big check. That joy supersedes and overshadows the work to get there. Yeah, kind of outweighs the work a little bit. Just a little. And then also, I will say this too. One of the most when I'm almost 7 years into being with Scott here at Little Pink House of America, and in the real estate game, formerly a lumberjack. Interesting story. There's a link to a video of me going from lumberjack to a real estate guru. Interesting. I like it. But I would say that when we got kind of going there, and you get these closings consistently, and you get to see people who don't have a chance at home, or they think they don't have a chance at home ownership. They think they've lost the American dream. They see things slipping through their fingers. They've had some challenges. And guys, we specialize in working with non-qualified buyers that can't walk into a bank today. That's our whole target. We have a very detailed plan to get them mortgage ready and get them in a house. And that's how we're able to work with sellers to maximize the money that they make on their sale. But at the closing table, to see the tears of joy that we've seen in our office while we're closing these deals, I don't know that anything motivates you more than that. The checks are great. And this sounds cliche or cheesy, because, of course, counting that money to the bank is pretty good. It's really good money. Yeah. But when you see a family being elevated, right? They're getting out of that apartment that they can't stand, that they outgrew, and they're getting into a house that they never thought was possible for them because they just didn't know. They didn't have a way, and we kind of shine the light on them and give them a path, give them a way. I mean, the gratification that comes from that, you want to be happy about what you do.
Yeah.
Sit down at those closing tables, hear those people's stories, and then feel good about how you touch their lives. The profit with purpose is really big around here, and that kind of fills you up inside. That keeps you charged up to keep going. It's a really big deal, super gratifying to see what you do make a difference, right? You can be a real estate investor that kicks people in the teeth trying to make the most money they can and smash and go basically onto the next deal. Sell it to somebody else and let them, have the happy, warm, fuzzy story. But when you have the knowledge to see that through and you're sitting at the table and those, tears are welling up and big smiles, and you got kids running around the closing table, they've picked out their bedrooms. They're building home. They're about to grow their family. That is the ultimate reward of what we do.
That's the giving. That's the giving part.
That's the giving back.
Yeah, that is.
It allows you to do so.
So if you're thinking about real estate, we would encourage you to check it out, whether it's us or somebody else.
We're just going to keep pushing you along and keep doing it. So you keep showing up. We'll just keep pushing you to do it.
There you go. Well, Danny, let's switch gears because we wanted to catch one opinion from each one of us, kind of a hot take on the moratorium. Sure. So as we sit here, on today's date, the moratoriums have formally lifted from the pandemic relief, and they were obviously phenomenal for, I would say, millions of people over the past 12 months, and they've just expired. There is some talk about reinstituting some type of a moratorium, but we don't know if that's going to happen or not. But give me your hot take on it, and I'll give you mine.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the moratoriums, it was interesting right from day one. First of all, mortgage companies go into a 3-month forbearance because the CDC says this is going to be a 2-week thing. We'll lock it down for 14 days. We'll come back roaring. Everything will be fine. So the banks unroll. And who has a plan for this? Nobody, right? So who do you point fingers to, or who's at fault? Really, nobody. I think everybody's trying to do the best they can with the information they have. But you go into it with a 14-day shutdown, and you get a 3-month forbearance. Is pretty much what all the mortgage companies started to do, where you could defer your payments for 3 months, and then you got to catch them up at that 4th month. And then moratoriums get set in place, and renters don't have to pay, and crazy stuff like in California where, it's already hard there. This didn't make it any easier. And that kind of spread throughout the country where people couldn't afford to pay their rent, and because of that, they said, well, you can't throw them out. It's not their fault. It's pandemic. But the issue with that is it's a balancing beam. And then you get to the person who owns that rental who decided, I'm going to become an investor because it equals wealth. And it's a beautiful thing. Well, the bank comes knocking and they want their money. They got their hand out after however many months. The moratoriums are not lifted, so the tenants don't have to pay. So basically we're asking an investor who, or not we, but they are asking an investor to pay the piper, basically. It's time to pay up. And I don't know where there's a right and a wrong or what's fair about it, but it seems a little unfair for a landlord right now. It seems like it's a little slanted toward the tenant right now. And because people, I feel, are not prepared, they don't do things like we're talking about. They haven't taken action to build other income streams into their life. And they're just in a situation. Typically, people who are on a hamster wheel, they don't have, even if they miss 2 paychecks, they'd be bankrupt. They don't have a little life's curveball nest egg stored away. So when this happens, it's like, man, we don't know what to do. Government steps in, does what they think is best at the time. But right now, there's a lot of tired landlords out there that are pulling their hair out thinking, I don't know how I'm ever going to make this up, and I don't know what to do. And the bank, who I feel is going to end up being the ultimate bad guy, is saying, hey, we don't know what to do neither. This is the loan. Here's what it is. You got to pay. And I don't think anybody's wrong, but the direction on how that clears up is not clear at all. It's very, very, very foggy.
It's clear as mud.
It's as clear as muddy water, yeah. But there's a lot of opportunity.
Well, there
will
is.
be a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and I agree. You know, the it's been slanted from day one, where investors did have the ability to get a forbearance, and some even more than the 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
But the investors were viewed as able to make payments, and tenants were viewed as those unable to. And so from the outset, it's been slanted. But my take is no different than yours. I should say I agree with what you're saying, and I think the opportunities are going to come with tired landlords. So there are some targets that we're going after here now, and certainly in the very near term, that we think are going to be opportunities to make some good buys, and tired landlords are one of them. Would also be a pre-foreclosure comparison. So a tired landlord who isn't collecting payments but having to deal with a tenant may be at their wits' end. They could be free and clear, meaning they don't have a mortgage, but still could be frustrated. I wouldn't call them distressed financially or economically. They could be distressed mentally. And they may need that reprieve. And I've learned, being a real estate guy for 25 years, that there's just certain people that aren't cut out for real estate. And my wife has shared that with me. I'm a real estate guy. Everyone I tell, once you have a house, don't sell it. If you're going to move, rent it and figure it out, and you'll be happy down the road. Right, Andrew? No, just kidding.
Come on, Andrew.
Now, Andrew sold his house. He made a nice chunk of money. He's going to do well with it.
He's going to reinvest it.
That was a good move on his part. But I always say hold on to those rentals. And we have some very dear friends who had a situation prior to the pandemic where the tenant was a challenge, and it just was eating them alive. And my wife said, not everybody is cut out for real estate. So even landlords that have been landlords for a while can get burned out. So there are also landlords who have a mortgage, who have not collected on any sort of rent payments, that have not made their payments either. They either weren't able to, or chose not to, or a combination of both.
That's a great point.
Those are people that are going to be also, when the moratorium, which was also on foreclosures for government-backed loans and some other areas that I'm still not even totally clear on who was under the moratorium, who wasn't. We did see different cases, evictions and foreclosures throughout the country, sporadically getting pushed through the courts. So it seemed to be some gray area in there. But keep in mind also that there are going to be landlords that are going to be a few payments behind. They risk losing the property to foreclosure and losing any equity and or all the equity they have should it go to foreclosure. There may be ways that you can step in and save that, and certainly that's one of the things that we are focusing on and teaching some of our folks. So, but I would simply say this about the moratorium, different than Danny, and that is just that I really do believe it was a great move by the government. The country did not need to go into a depression, nor did it need to go into a recession like it was in 2008 and for the next few years and the challenges. So the government stepped in, made credit, continue to make credit relatively easy. Interest rates are low, and I think it was just a great service. Will tell you, and I shared this before we started recording, on the news last night, they had interviewed a couple of folks that were tenants that were behind and probably going to get evicted now that the moratorium's lifted. And one of the ladies said, it just has been, so quick, it happened so fast, and I'm not prepared. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm thinking to myself, they've had the moratorium in place for 11 months. Well, I mean, what do you mean so fast? I mean, they've even extended it a few times. And so I will say it was such a great gift. It was a great move. But the folks that are getting caught and acting as if they're surprised that this is now happening and being lifted, that didn't quite connect with me. I'm thinking to myself, you have to take some responsibility at the end of the day. So they are trying to push an extension again on it. We don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I think it was a great move. It's going to it saved a lot of people from being evicted, certainly. It's going to create some great opportunities for investors to pick up homes from landlords that would like to get rid of them, and there's going to be great opportunities through that. So there was a lot of good in it. At this point, I believe it's the right move to lift it. Yeah. Let's try to get things back to normal, even though there is some spiking when it comes to the Delta variant. So who knows what'll happen there. But that's a nug to take away for potential targets for distressed sellers, and maybe just mentally distressed sellers, but still landlords that had tenants that haven't been paying, something you might want to keep your eyes on. So back to you, co-host.
Yeah. I'm going to break that down a little bit for the novice. So distressed seller, when we say that, what we're talking about is somebody who's in financial distress. So they've got a mortgage or a payment due on the property, and they're delinquent, or they're becoming delinquent. They're a few months behind. We've read crazy stats of, 18 months behind, and they're not foreclosed on yet. So there's, a lot of things behind that, but a distressed seller is typically financially distressed, right? They're behind on payments. What Scott talks about, when the landlord stopped making their payments, when they weren't collecting their payment, there's a pending foreclosure coming down the pike when things clear up out of the courts and everybody makes sense of all of this, those people are not going to plan on making those payments back. They're walking away from those houses. And what we foresee is a large transfer of assets, right? So you can either be on the team that is out there trying to acquire assets that make you money long term, or you can sit back and kind of do nothing and watch the chaos unfold. We would prefer to be on the side that is trying to acquire assets that make you money. So yeah, distressed, what's coming down the pike. We see nobody knows. There's no crystal ball, although we've been looking for it for years. There's no crystal ball that says this is exactly when it's going to happen. Again, going through YouTubes and looking at all the news, everybody predictions, right? Q4, the real estate market is going to fold, or it's not. It's going to keep going like this for 24 months. Zillow put out an article a couple days ago. They don't see a drop-off coming for at least the next 24 months. Who are they and what are they looking at and how do they come up with that? I'm sure it's a bit of propaganda in there. I don't know how you could affirmatively say that. But
And we saw a video yesterday where the lady was the exact opposite.
The exact opposite.
I mean, the exact opposite, saying buyers are realizing this is a rat race, that we're reading stories. I read another one today at lunch that people are buying sight unseen. They found, you might have seen it, 450,000 bees in the wall. Did you see that?
No.
No, it was up in New York somewhere, and
terrible.
the lady even said they waived the inspection box. They just wanted to they needed to get in the house, and on the disclosure, the seller did put bees in the wall. They failed to mention 500,000 bees in the wall. But no, I'm reading it. In fact, I also have a statistic that I have a screenshot of. 66% of home buyers in the past 12 months have some remorse because they bought too quickly, fearful they paid too much, didn't know what they were walking into when they were waiving inspections and or buying them sight unseen. And many are not happy with the area and ultimately so a lot of people made very hasty decisions and bought. My advice, I got interviewed for something a few weeks ago and they said, it was like the final question. I said, well, what advice would you give to someone looking to buy a home? And I said, well, don't buy. If you can wait, man, wait. That's the best advice I can give, is because you're getting into some what I believe is almost a fabricated competition. It's not fake. It's competition that is just kind of created because of this frenzy, and you're going to get caught up in a bidding war and paying too much, and values, they may not plummet like they did in '08, but there's going to be a supply-demand change when the buyers, which we're already seeing ourselves, and this video yesterday was affirming it even more, the buyers are starting to slow down a little bit. They're pulling back. They're not as aggressive as they were, and sellers that think that they're just going to make this massive markup and sell, I think she called them delusional if they think that they're going to continue on that. So Zillow has their opinion. This lady has hers. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle there. I don't agree with Zillow. I don't believe there's 24 months worth of buyer demand, even though supply is at an all-time low. I just think people are wising up to the fact that if we can just hold off for now, we're much better. So
things will get back to even keel over there. You would hope it can't.
Well, I got to make one point, though.
Don't think it can continue.
Well, but so they started tracking statistics in real estate, I'm going to tell you, in the 20s. And so over the past, I guess, 90 plus years, I guess 100 years at this point, they have a real estate cycle about every 10 years. And so it's a historical fact. It's not, and it's a litmus test. It's not some, I'm going to look at the past, 2 decades and 3 decades. This is a 100-year test, and they're saying every 10 years, they being economists and historians, there's a cycle. So the last really big dip was in '08, the technical dip. The bottom was in '08. Things started to get better from there. So we're in 21 at this point. I was going to say 22. Don't ask me why. But we're in 21.
Not yet,
getting the years all of a sudden, right?
Not
so
yet.
almost. I just want this year to be over now. This is a good year. 2020, I was excited for 21 to come and play. But people, I guess, would be well served to remember that because things go in cycles, because it's historically every 10 years, and we're at 13 years at this point, we're due for a correction. It doesn't have to be a crash, but things will even keel. They'll even back out.
That's a really good point. It doesn't have to be a crash. It doesn't have to be this scary thing that where people lose everything.
And I don't think it's going to be, by the way. I don't want that to be.
It feels like a gradual correction is needed, and it kind of feels like what's coming. I know we look at days on market and in the markets all across the country that we work in. They're up almost everywhere except for your uber hots like San Francisco or New York City or some of those. Even in New York City, that's an odd market right now. But as we look at statistics and we dig in, you do see things, indicators that say it's not going to, the pace isn't going to keep up, but it doesn't feel like there's this big cliff that we're staring at the end of, and it's just the bottom's going to fall out. Kind of feels like a gradual correction as opposed to a crash, which is better for everybody.
Yeah, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. It is, and again, kidding aside, but I will say that the reality is when there are tragedies, traumas, major shakeups, there's always opportunities from those.
Transfers, big transfers happen
so
in those moments.
If I'm speaking selfishly, there's a part of me that would like to see a crash. That's a little strong. I look forward to the market correcting, and I look forward to having the market shaken up a little bit. I think it's good for everybody. Crash would not be the right thing to say.
Gives a good reset though.
Yeah, and it needs it. It's just not sustainable. It's crazy for everybody involved, from top to bottom, institutional iBuyer, investor, homeowner, landlord, renter, across the board. It's just really, really difficult. So hopefully, we're at the tail end of COVID. Hopefully, once COVID has kind of, we've gotten our arms around it, then the market will correct itself and we'll be kind of back to somewhat of a normal 2022. Be kind of nice, wouldn't it? Maybe that's why I was getting ready to say 22, because I just wanted trying to fast forward the tape.
A normal 12 months ahead of us would be fantastic.
It would be.
Yes,
it would be.
That would be awesome.
Well, I got to tell you what, I enjoy these podcasts. Again, we want to give value. We want to be entertaining and tell all these funny jokes. No, just kidding. We do have some fun with our jokes, even though they're not always funny.
We'll keep trying.
We'll keep trying. We fall, we get back up with our jokes. But
it's the Rocky quote. It's not how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep getting up.
That's right. So we've got, we're going to continue to bring some goodies to the table here, and hopefully there'll be some takeaways on every show. Danny, how do you want to wrap?
Yeah, I will wrap it up with, guys, take some action. You're here, you're listening, you're interested. Capture that interest, put some action behind it, go educate yourself. Get off the porch, get out there, mix it up, make some money. We'll see you on the next one.
If you want to run with the big dogs, you got to
get off the porch.
Right? All right, very good. All right, we'll see you on the next one.
Take care, everybody.